What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today we're going to show you what each wire, input, and output does for the RGHR-ZA 4-zone marine receiver. Now if we take a look at the back of the receiver, you'll see we have all these different wires, inputs, and outputs that all serve a different purpose for your receiver. Starting with the red wire here, this acts as the ACC or accessory wire that gets connected to the ignition of your boat so that the receiver will power on as soon as the boat does. Next we have the yellow wire as our 12-volt wire, and this gets connected to the 12-volt of your house battery. Next we have the black wire that acts as the ground wire, which we're going to connect to the ground terminal of your house battery. And next we have the blue wire that acts as the remote out. This allows you to connect the receiver to the remote terminal of an external amplifier so that the amplifier will power on as soon as the receiver does. Now because we don't have the ignition for today's demo, we're going to connect the ACC wire to the 12-volt of our battery, but remember for your boat setup you're going to want to run this wire to the ignition of your boat. So to connect these wires to your battery or ignition, we're going to need some leads. You're going to take these leads and connect one end to the ACC, remote, 12-volt, and ground wire. Then you'll take the other ends and connect them to the 12-volt and ground of your battery, the ignition of your boat, and the remote terminal of your amplifier. Now something to keep in mind is that boats are usually powered by two batteries ran in series to provide 24 volts of power. So you have one engine battery and one house battery. So like I've mentioned, you'll want to run everything we've brought up so far to the house battery. Now because this is a multi-zone receiver, we have the ability to set up multiple speakers throughout different areas of your boat. We also have separate volume controls for each zone for a fully customized sound. So I can set up one zone in the main area of our boat, I can have another zone set up to the inside of the boat, and I can have a separate zone for the captain's area while they're navigating. So first let's go over zone 1 that we can access through the wire harness here. These are actually high-powered speaker wires, so we can run the speakers right to these wires. Now zone 1 is very cool because it has separate outputs for front speakers and back speakers wherever you choose to set them up. So the front left speaker for zone 1 is represented by the white wires here, with the plain white wire acting as the positive and the white wire with the black strip as the negative. The right speaker for the front of zone 1 are represented by the gray wires, with the plain gray wire acting as the positive and the gray wire with the black strip as the negative. The rear left channel is represented by the green wires here, again with the plain wire acting as the positive and the one with the black stripe as the negative. Then we have the rear right channel for zone 1 with the purple wires, again with the plain wire acting as the positive and the one with the black stripe as the negative. After that we have RCA outputs for zones 2 and 3, so we can connect any amplifiers to the receiver that allow us to have more speakers in our setup. So for that setup you would take an RCA cable, plug one end into the RCA outputs for zones 2 and or 3, then we're going to take the other ends and plug them into any available channels on our amplifier. We also have a mono RCA output dedicated to a subwoofer if we wanted to add that to our setup. So to set that up we can take an RCA Y cable, take the dual RCA ends and plug them into the RCA inputs of either your active subwoofer or the RCA inputs of the amplifier powering your sub. Then take the single RCA end and plug it into the sub output of your receiver. Now we also have additional inputs and outputs on the back of the receiver, like the gray RCA aux input so we can connect external MP3 players or devices to the receiver. We also have the USB input to connect any devices or USB drives to play music, movies, or pictures. We even include a USB extension cable so you won't have to reach around to the back to connect your device. There's also an input for an antenna to strengthen the signal for your FM or AM radio. There's also an RCA camera input so we can connect a backup cam and have that shown through the display of the receiver whenever we're docking our boat. We also have the brown wire here which will act as the trigger for the camera to come on your display whenever you're backing up your boat. So when you go to reverse your boat, this wire will get the voltage, letting the receiver know to show the backup cam. And as soon as you're not reversing, the display will go back to normal. We also have the RCA video input, which is more geared for DVD players or anything that outputs video. And again, this can be shown through the display of your receiver by setting it to the aux source mode. We also have the RCA video output, so we can send the video out to different displays around your boat. This will send out the video of anything that's playing through your receiver, like the backup cam, the video input, or anything playing from the USB. Now, if we take a look at the front of the receiver, you'll see all of the buttons that we can use to control the receiver. So hopefully this helped you guys understand what each wire, input, and output does for the RGHR-ZA 4-zone marine receiver. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.